Screeching tires shattered the still air, followed by the wail of a siren and the frantic shouting of firefighters. The engine jerked to a halt in front of a beige luxury SUV parked smack in the middle of what should have been a marked fire lane. Hoses in hand, the firefighters froze, eyes darting around. No red paint, no signs, just smooth beige concrete and a smug little sign that read, "Reserved for HOA guests only." On her porch, sipping iced tea in a floral robe, was Barbara Lane, our HOA president, watching it all like she'd orchestrated the chaos. I stood on my front lawn, jaw tight, heart pounding. That curb was supposed to be red. I knew because I helped paint it when I was 12, alongside my father, Fire Chief Tom Reed. Now, thanks to Barbara and her beige crusade, an emergency vehicle couldn't even reach the fire. Someone's life was literally hanging in the balance because one woman decided red was too aggressive. A week earlier, I'd first noticed the crew paint rollers in hand, erasing the fire lane. Barbara, in a sun hat the size of a satellite dish, barked orders like she was running a military campaign. "Red is too stressful," she declared when I confronted her. "It clashes with the aesthetic of the neighborhood." I reminded her it was a legal fire lane. Her response? "There's never been a fire here." I filed a complaint with the HOA the next day, complete with city code citations and photographic evidence. Her response was a mass email mocking neighborhood saboteurs and promoting a paint and Prosecco party to finish the job with complimentary wine and canapes. That party was surreal. Tipsy residents laughing, rolling beige paint over the last of the red, one guy joking he felt like Banksy. I walked away, hands shaking, knowing I couldn't explain this to my dad without his blood pressure spiking. When my next email went unanswered, I contacted the fire marshal. They said an inspection would take a week. And then, fate decided Barbara's lesson wouldn't wait that long. 4th of July weekend. Neighborhood cookout. Someone's grilled too close to a dry bush. One spark, one gust of wind, and the mulch lining the HOA clubhouse went up like kindling. I ran toward the smoke, shouting for people to move. I called 911. The fire truck was there in minutes but couldn't get through. Barbara's SUV sat directly where the fire lane had been. I pointed, screaming, "This is the fire lane." A firefighter shook his head. "No markings. No go. We'll go around." They lost 6 minutes rerouting. By the time they reached the blaze, a backyard shed was gone, embers kissing the roofline of the nearest home. The firefighters doused the flames while Barbara stumbled outside barefoot, shrieking about her porch decor melting. I locked eyes with her and said the only thing that needed saying, "This is on you." 10 minutes later, my dad arrived, uniform crisp, jaw clenched. He took one look at the painted-over curb, then at Barbara's car. "Is this what I think it is?" I nodded. He barked to his crew, "Get the photos." Barbara tried to explain. "Chief, I was just improving curb appeal. No one thought there'd be a fire." He didn't even glance at her. He snapped a picture of her SUV. "City code violation. Civil fine incoming." "And that's just the beginning," one firefighter added flatly. "Tell that to the couple who nearly lost their dog." The next morning, Barbara's SUV mysteriously vanished. But it was too late. Photos and videos were already circulating. The city got involved. My dad filed reports and gathered documentation. That afternoon, I was handed a copy of the HOA bylaws. Barbara had scribbled in a clause giving herself authority to revise curb aesthetics for neighborhood harmony. No other board member signed it. She'd literally altered governing documents by hand, with no oversight. On Thursday, we packed into the HOA clubhouse for an emergency meeting. Barbara showed up late, in a tacky pantsuit and a desperate smile. Her voice cracked as she blamed personal vendettas and misunderstandings. When she claimed the fire lane wasn't clearly marked, 3 residents stood up waving printed photos from last year's block party showing the bright red curb. Then I walked forward and handed her a lettera formal city citation. Doug Hensley, our normally quiet HOA vice president, stood and cleared his throat. "It's time we talk about the emails." Everyone froze. Doug read from a stack of papers private emails Barbara had accidentally forwarded to him. In them, she bragged about neutralizing the fire lane to create VIP parking and mocked anyone worried about safety. One line read, "Let them whine. I'll shut them down." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Barbara accused Doug of betrayal. He calmly resigned and advised everyone to get a lawyer. The meeting fell into chaos. Barbara stormed out, nearly tripping over a folding chair. By morning, city inspectors were back. Photos, measurements, interviews. The insurance company launched their own investigation. Rumors swirled about premiums doubling unless Barbara was removed. Barbara tried spinning the story, claiming harassment and corruption. She accused me and my father of using scare tactics. But the screenshots told the real story, and they were now stapled to lamp posts, labeled Exhibit A, Leadership Failure. I was asked to testify at the upcoming city hearing. I agreed. That morning, I walked into City Hall with a folder full of evidence and a calm resolve. Barbara sat at the front, wearing a neck brace and fake tears. My dad presented the fire timeline and photos. Doug testified, bringing emails and HOA documents. Then I took the stand. I told them how I saw the crew painting over the curb, how I warned Barbara, how she turned fire code into a wine party, how 6 minutes of delay put homes and lives at risk. The only thing that burned faster than that fence, I said, was the trust in our leadership. Barbara tried to make it about gender, about stress, about a shed not being a house. A councilwoman cut her off. That shed contained explosive material. You're lucky the dog survived. The verdict was swift. Barbara was fined for obstructing emergency access, altering public markings without permit, and abusing her authority. She was removed from office. The HOA was placed under temporary city oversight. And Barbara? She was ordered to repaint the curbs personally. In the weeks that followed, the fire lane returned, brighter than ever. LED signs blinked warnings. Compliance notices hung nearby. Barbara, once queen of the cul-de-sac, now avoided eye contact, her blinds perpetually drawn. She snapped one day when a neighbor parked near her driveway. But when he pointed to the legally marked red curb, she had nothing left to say. We hosted a fire safety event with the department, complete with hot dogs, helmets for the kids, and a restored sense of community. No one talked about Barbara. No one needed to. She was done. A few days later, her porch furniture disappeared. Word spread she was moving out. The city turned our story into a training module. My dad brought me in to speak to new recruits. I showed them how something as simple as paint could become a matter of life or death. The city passed a law requiring all HOAs to submit annual emergency access plans. And our once beige-washed neighborhood became a statewide model for reform. Doug took over as interim HOA president and ran everything transparently. I became the emergency liaison, just an informal role, making sure no one ever forgot what the red line meant. At the next block party, the mayor's office surprised me with the first ever Red Line Award, a small plaque with one simple message: you stood between fire and foolishness. And Barbara? Her house sold to a young couple with a toddler and a golden retriever. They never asked about the curb, and I never told them. Some stories don't need to be retold. The red line said enough.